Hello everyone, welcome back to Tap's Journal. How could a group of seasoned criminals believe they could successfully ram a heavy industrial excavator through the walls of a national monument to steal £350 million worth of diamonds? They were mere seconds away from completing the most ambitious heist in British history, completely unaware that every move they made was being watched by dozens of hidden, armed officers. This is the story of a crime so audacious, it sounds like a Hollywood script, yet the reality was far more dangerous and calculated than anyone could have imagined. The Millennium Dome in Greenwich, London, was the focal point of the world's attention as the year 2000 began. Inside its massive white canopy sat the De Beers Diamond Exhibition, a collection of some of the rarest gems on the planet. According to architectural records and security floor plans from the time, the exhibition was housed in a high-security zone known as the Money Zone. The centerpiece was the Millennium Star, a flawless 203-carat pear-shaped diamond of incredible value. The Millennium Star was not alone in its display, as it was surrounded by 11 rare blue diamonds of varying sizes. Reports from the De Beers Security Division stated that the total value of the collection exceeded £350 million at the time. This staggering figure made the dome a prime target for the most daring criminal elements in Europe. It was a prize that promised a life of luxury, but it also invited a level of scrutiny that the perpetrators clearly underestimated. A group of career criminals, led by figures like Raymond Betson and William Cockram, began plotting the heist several months before the actual attempt. Metropolitan Police surveillance logs from early 2000 indicated that these men were already under heavy suspicion for a series of armored car robberies across the United Kingdom. They were known for their meticulous planning and their willingness to use industrial equipment to breach secure locations. The gang believed they had found the perfect opportunity to strike while the world was distracted by the new millennium. Unbeknownst to the gang, the Flying Squad, an elite branch of the London Metropolitan Police, was already conducting a massive intelligence-led operation. According to Operation Magpie case files, detectives had been tracking the group's movements across Kent and London for nearly half a year. The police had successfully planted listening devices in the gang's vehicles and identified their secret meeting spots. Every detail of the plot was being transcribed by investigators long before the first sledgehammer was swung. The gang decided on a daring entry method that involved a stolen JCB earthmover to smash through the dome's outer perimeter. Based on forensic evidence recovered after the event, the machine had been specifically modified with a steel ramming plate to ensure it could penetrate the building's reinforced glass and steel. This choice demonstrated a level of tactical audacity that shocked the veteran investigators assigned to the case. They were not planning a subtle burglary, but a high-impact assault on one of London's most famous landmarks. The planned escape was just as elaborate as the entry, involving a high-speed extraction across the River Thames. Port of London Authority records show that the gang had scouted the riverbanks multiple times to find a landing spot that was out of sight of standard patrol routes. They had a powerful speedboat waiting at the pier, intended to whisk them away into the morning fog before the police could establish a perimeter. It was a plan that relied on speed, chaos, and the assumption that they had the element of surprise. Commander John Chattel of the Metropolitan Police authorized a massive sting operation involving over 200 officers to stop the heist in progress. Official police briefing notes from November 7, 2000, reveal that many of these officers were disguised as cleaners, maintenance workers, and even tourists inside the dome. These undercover units were heavily armed and instructed to wait until the gang actually attempted to seize the stones. The goal was to catch them in the act to ensure a successful prosecution in court. To protect the priceless gems, De Beers security experts replaced the real Millennium Star and the blue diamonds with high-quality glass replicas. This fact was kept under the strictest confidentiality, known only to a handful of high-ranking police officials and De Beers executives. According to a later interview with the De Beers security chief, the swap occurred just days before the gang was expected to strike. Even if the thieves had escaped, they would have walked away with nothing more than worthless glass. On the morning of November 7, 2000, the gang moved into their final positions near the Greenwich Peninsula. Witness statements from early commuters recorded in the subsequent investigation files described seeing a large JCB digger moving toward the dome at an unusual speed. The tension among the undercover officers inside the building reached a breaking point as the roar of the engine grew louder. They knew that the moment of confrontation was finally at hand. At exactly 9:30 a.m., the JCB crashed through the perimeter fence and headed straight for the Money Zone Pavilion. According to the structural damage report filed by the dome's management, the digger smashed through the glass doors with terrifying force, sending shards flying everywhere. The gang immediately deployed smoke canisters to obscure the vision of any security guards or visitors in the area. This was a classic military-style tactic designed to create confusion and panic during the critical seconds of the theft. 3 men jumped out of the JCB wearing gas masks and brandishing sledgehammers and high-velocity nail guns. They focused their efforts on the reinforced glass casing that held the Millennium Star replica. Metropolitan Police forensic photos show that they used the nail guns to create stress points in the glass before striking it with heavy hammers. The sound of the glass shattering echoed through the pavilion, signaling the climax of their months-long plan. Just as the thieves reached for the fake diamonds, the undercover officers struck from their hiding places. The flying squad's official report describes the moment as intense and chaotic, with officers shouting commands while tackling the suspects to the ground. Within seconds, the primary members of the gang were pinned to the floor in handcuffs. The smoke from their own canisters was still swirling around them as they realized their plan had been compromised from the start. Simultaneously, police units moved in on the getaway boat, waiting at the nearby pier. According to the Thames Division logs, the driver of the boat attempted to start the engine and flee, but was quickly intercepted by police craft. Every escape route had been systematically blocked by the coordinated efforts of land, air, and water units. The gang was completely surrounded, and their dream of a £350 million payday had vanished into the cold London air. A total of 6 men were arrested at the scene or in the immediate vicinity during the initial takedown. The names Raymond Betson, William Cockram, Robert Adams, and Aldo Cherokee appeared in the first press release issued by New Scotland Yard that afternoon. Investigators also seized a variety of specialized tools, encrypted radios, and detailed maps that outlined the gang's extensive preparation. It was clear that this was not an amateur operation, but the work of a professional criminal syndicate. Following the arrests, police conducted a series of raids on multiple properties associated with the gang members across the south of England. According to a report in The Guardian newspaper, published in December 2000, these searches uncovered further evidence of the gang's involvement in other major robberies. The scale of the criminal network was far larger than the public had been led to believe. The police had not just stopped a heist, they had dismantled a significant organized crime group. The trial at the Old Bailey began in late 2001 and lasted for several months under intense media scrutiny. Court transcripts indicate that the defense lawyers tried to argue that the police had effectively trapped the men into committing the crime. However, the prosecution presented an overwhelming amount of surveillance evidence, including audio recordings of the gang discussing the robbery months in advance. The jury found the evidence of their prior intent to be undeniable. In February 2002, the core members of the gang were sentenced to lengthy prison terms for their roles in the conspiracy. Raymond Betson and William Cockram were each given 18 years, reflecting their status as the masterminds behind the operation. The judge's sentencing remarks, preserved in the legal archives, emphasize the unparalleled audacity and greed displayed by the men. The severity of the sentences served as a stark warning to other criminal organizations considering similar high-stakes targets. This event remains one of the most famous foiled robberies in British history, often cited as a triumph of intelligence-led policing. Looking back at the BBC News archives from the era, the public's fascination with the JCB gang was immense and enduring. It was a story that perfectly captured the transition from the 20th to the 21st century, combining old-fashioned brute force with sophisticated surveillance technology. The dome itself survived the attack, but the story of the heist became part of its permanent legacy. The heist led to a massive overhaul of security protocols for high-value exhibitions and museums worldwide. A white paper published by the International Professional Security Association highlighted the Millennium Dome case as a primary example of successful multi-agency cooperation. It proved that even the most determined and well-equipped criminals could be defeated through meticulous observation and patience. The lessons learned in Greenwich continue to influence how the world's most valuable treasures are protected today. The Millennium Star diamond itself was eventually returned to a secure vault and later sold to a private collector for an undisclosed sum. According to a 2005 article in Jewelry World, the diamond's history now officially includes the fact that it was the target of the world's most ambitious failed robbery. The glass replica used in the sting operation is reportedly kept in the Metropolitan Police Museum as a piece of historical evidence. It stands as a silent witness to the day the flying squad won the battle for the Millennium Star. The sheer scale of the gang's ambition continues to be a topic of study for criminologists and historians alike. While they failed spectacularly, the logistical effort they put into the heist was undeniably impressive in its complexity. However, the meticulous planning of the flying squad proved that no matter how fast your boat is or how strong your digger is, you cannot outrun a team that is already waiting for you at the finish line. The Millennium Dome heist remains a chilling reminder of the lengths to which men will go for a chance at unimaginable wealth. The Millennium Dome heist stands as a testament to the power of elite intelligence and the inherent risks of criminal ambition, proving that even the most elaborate plans can fall apart when the law is 10 steps ahead. Although the gang nearly touched the world's most valuable diamonds, they ended up with nothing but glass and a lifetime behind bars. Maybe that is all the mystery we can investigate this time, and do not forget to click subscribe and like this channel so you do not miss other crime mysteries. See you in the next unsolved case.